This is CNN.
From Washington, Crossfire. On the left, Mike Kinsley. On the right, Pat Buchanan. Tonight, the beginning of the end.
Good evening and welcome to Crossfire. Is peace at hand? You heard the news. The Soviets and Iraqis have agreed on a deal to get the Iraqi army out of Kuwait without conditions. Clearly the ball is now in the White House court. Is this enough to bring about a ceasefire, and does it mean an almost certain halt in plans for the U.S. ground war, which was said to be only hours away from now? Michael?
Our guests are Christopher Hitchens, author and columnist for The Nation magazine, America's best-known left-wing weekly, and Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona, member of the Armed Services Committee. Senator McCain, a CNN Gallup poll by coincidence came out today. 71% of Americans say that if Saddam Hussein agrees to pull out of Kuwait, let's call off the war. He has now agreed to pull out of Kuwait. Are 71% of Americans right or wrong?
I think that always with a poll, Michael, it depends on how the question's asked. You ask
answer it the way I asked.
I think that 71% of the American people are right without conditions, and clearly there are conditions. But let me emphasize that this is a major step forward and is significant and should be examined by the White House, even though clearly the present proposal, particularly as regards to reparations for Kuwait, one-third left at one time and all that, is not in keeping with the UN resolution.
Look, but what it comes down to with these details is, do you want to try to negotiate them away, or do you want to use them as an excuse to torpedo the whole deal and have a land war?
Or are you in danger of, as we were in the Korean War and again in the Vietnam War, agreeing on something in principle and spending a few years haggling over the details?
Chris Hitchens, we're getting reports that the president, of course, is in the White House. He's meeting with Secretary Baker. Quayle is on the way. There's a top-level meeting right now. Does this not mean, if what we get out of Moscow is valid, that they're getting out without conditions, that the United States has won the war?
No, it doesn't, because the objective of the war is not the recovery of Kuwait. I mean, here's a free gift being offered to you for the third time. The Algerians offered it, the Iraqis themselves offered it, it was all the time turned down. Wonderful to have Kuwait retrieved in the international community and no war, but that is not the point. The point is the United States wants to appoint itself the government of Iraq and the guarantor of Saudi Arabia and the Gulf. And the stated purpose of the war is the destruction and replacement of the Iraqi government.
Well, no,
that's to say, if the White House tries to laugh this off, which it'll be harder to do than it was in the Algerian case, but already we're getting very ungraceful noises from the White House, it'll be because this is not their objective. They've repeatedly stated the objective is to appoint themselves
the
appointers of the government of Baghdad.
Most of us assume here that the primary objective for which the president has taken this country into war is to get the Iraqi army out of Kuwait without conditions. It appears he's not only going to get that, but he will have successfully destroyed or damaged irreparably the Iraqi war machine. It seems to me, if the Iraqi army gets out of Kuwait unconditionally, President Bush can claim total victory.
If he wanted these things, he could have had them without killing anybody several months ago. A deliberate attempt was made to torpedo every effort to confine it to the question of Kuwait. It isn't the question. Anyone who thinks the United States has gone to war for plucky little Kuwait is already all wet.
Why do you suppose, Mr. Hitchens, the Iraqis are so clear now when they could not be clear on January 15th about what they intended to do?
You look up the... You've even had Dr. Brzezinski on this very show pointing out the same thing to you. Look up the Algerian agreement. The Algerian agreement was a total evacuation of Kuwait by Iraq in exchange for no attack upon Iraq itself.
Senator McCain...
The war aim is an attack upon Iraq.
Right,
don't you understand?
Senator McCain, not everyone agrees with Pat that a ceasefire and end of the war at this point would in fact be a success for President Bush, and there's a lot of mystery about whether President Bush thinks that or not. So let me ask you, clearing away all these questions about a lingering ceasefire as in Vietnam, suppose we can get the ceasefire, but we don't get him off his perch. He's still there. He withdraws. He leaves some of his equipment behind, not all of it. In other words, a deal.
Leaving Hitler
do we take it?
Then I think
do we take it or do we not take it?
If under the parameters you're talking about, I think we take it. And despite what Mr. Hitchens says, that has been our goal all along. That's what the Congress voted for. That's what I voted for. And I think you even supported, Michael. And let me just add one other thing. A wrinkle here. I think that one thing, and wrinkle, it's interesting here. Saddam Hussein could talk to his people earlier today over nationwide radio. Why does it have to be a Soviet spokesman that's saying this? Why couldn't Aziz say it at least, or Saddam Hussein
Because these are
himself?
negotiations,
Let me ask
Senator.
both-
You know how negotiations
Michael,
work.
somebody should be speaking for their government as to what their government
Are
is
you going to
willing
have
do.
a war? Are you
No,
going to
wait a
let
minute.
thousands
I'm
of
just
people
saying
die
I just
over
said-
whether this comes
No,
over the
Michael,
radio from Baghdad or
I said
from
this is an
Moscow?
interesting aspect of it,
All right,
Michael.
Even,
But what do you
you've
think-
noticed, though, Michael,
ahead.
Saddam Hussein commented on it after President Bush had commented on it and said it wasn't good enough without revealing its terms and conditions.
All right,
President
let's
Bush
talk
hasn't said
about
a word
right
yet.
now what we heard out of Moscow. Both of you. Do you agree or not agree that a ground war now, in the next 24 hours, has become terribly unlikely, if not politically impossible?
I think so. And what I would do if I were President Bush, I'd say, okay, this is a good beginning. Now, are you going to do A, B, C, D, and E? And we want to know within 24 hours, otherwise the ground
All
war
right,
starts.
you're a very strong supporter of the president
Yes.
and everything he's done, and you are saying if you sat and told the president in that meeting right now, you
Yes.
would say, Mr. President, we cannot go ahead with the ground war right now. We have to look at this.
I would give him 24 or 48 hours, and they have plenty of time to respond. Do you mean that you are going to pay reparations to Kuwait? Do you mean that you will accept inspection and monitoring of your weapons of mass destruction,
But
etc.?
John McCain,
And you are unconditionally
John
leaving Kuwait, which is not part of that 8-point proposal.
Well, the first point
It's
2 is
2/3 and
unconditional.
then 1/3,
But John
no.
McCain, you wouldn't send American Marines
No, I would not.
and troops into battle over reparations, would
No,
you?
I would not. But I would also make sure that they was absolutely clear all of the aspects of it and not a set of conditions imposed by the Iraqis.
What do you think is going to happen, Chris Hitchens?
I don't think that the United States went to all this trouble in order to make itself the master of the Persian Gulf, and in the words of the president the other day, to show that what we say goes, which is the purpose of the war, of course, unless you believe in plucky Kuwait, in which case you probably believe in plucky little Belgium and the rescue of Cuba from the Spanish Empire and all these other good things. They didn't do that in order to give the Soviet Union the credit for making the peace.
What do you think he's
that's
gonna
what's,
do?
well, they're going to go, I think, on sniffing at this as if it was the most unwelcome package they could
Do
possibly.
you think there's
That's
going to be
really
a ground
true.
war?
They
though?
do not want peace, they want domination. Unfortunately, you can't have domination without fighting
Mr.
for it.
Hitchens, we all want
Killing
peace.
for it.
We all
they've
want
already
peace.
killed after the Algerian offer thousands of Iraqis. Thousands of it. They went to all the trouble of sabotaging the Algerian offer
The
and killed
Algerian-
thousands of people not to get to this point.
The Algerian offer was not worth the powder to blow it to where the rest of those Iraqis have gone. We all know that. This
That's
is
a very ungracious thing to
significantly
say about
different.
the Algerians
this
who
is significantly
rescued your
different.
hostages
This is
from,
dramatically different than
from
any
Tehran.
proposal we've seen before. Because on the Algerian offer, even the word withdrawal was not used.
But it
So
is-
what-
it is
that's-
true.
this is
It is true,
significant.
Senator,
The word
that
was
the White House
evacuation.
very
The word was
significant, this
evacuation.
proposal.
The White House does keep saying, we don't have any White House reaction yet to this one, but at every earlier little sniff, as Mr. Hitchens put it, Fitzwater comes out and says he's disappointed. They're not really disappointed, they're actually delighted.
I don't think so, Michael. I think they want an unconditional withdrawal from Kuwait, and I have to take them at their word. And I see no
Why do
reason
you have
why
to
we
do
wouldn't
that? What an extraordinary thing to say.
What, did I take people?
You're a senator,
the president at his
you're
word?
elected to take the
Because he
government
hasn't
at its
lied to me
word.
yet?
Why do we need a
Why
Senate
shouldn't
for?
I take it? Every action that he's made so far has been correct, and he has been
What,
honest
including
with me and the
sending-
American people,
including sending
doing
his
exactly what
envoy
we
to
did.
tell Saddam Hussein that we have no opinion on inter-Arab border disputes?
That is an old saw that we have worked over for a long, long time,
Yeah,
which
I still
obviously
haven't
did
come up
not
with one.
affect Saddam Hussein's motivation to invade Kuwait, as we all know.
Who needs a senator? Just send in your postcard. I back the president. I mean, it's pathetic, isn't it?
We went through 3 big
Look,
days of debate,
we
Mr.
are-
Hitchens. that was
Thousands
very
of people
informative
have
to everyone.
died to show that evacuation of Kuwait is not enough for George Bush and Dan Quayle. Now, I therefore
people will
think it's
agree
only
that
right to be extremely doubtful about
Okay,
the White
excuse
House's
me.
reaction.
We have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to ask the Zbigniew Brzezinski question, which is, how much blood of Americans should be paid to achieve aims beyond what Saddam Hussein is offering?
Ground combat is tough business. Ground combat is nasty business. It's not nice and sanitized and clean as a video game, such as nice gun camera footage.
I wish I didn't have to take a laxative. Phillips, right, but it's gonna taste chalky. I still won't like the flavor. Well, all right. Hey, that didn't taste like Phillips. Sold.
When you're the largest, word travels. For out-of-this-world prices, don't go any further than Dalton, Georgia. Look to the big side and carpets of Dalton for Floor tiles, Mexican tiles, wall tiles, and hand-painted decorative tiles. All major brands of vinyl in stock at low prices, plus large quantities of pre-finished hardwood. Look to Carpets of Dalton under the big sign for your home furnishing needs, from floor coverings to furniture to clocks and more. Call 1-800-262-3132.
This month, watch for your Discover Card application. It means you're already approved. Approved for the card that pays you cash back, yet charges you no annual fee. So just sign it and return to sender. It pays to Discover.
I watched what I ate, worked out on my Easy Glider, and lost 75 pounds.
Some say it's the #1 fitness exercise. Just 20 minutes every other day firms all major muscle groups.
It's just a tremendous workout.
Dual resistance allows you to adjust tension for both legs and upper body.
The bikes only work on certain parts of your body. Easy Glider works on all over.
And this handsome unit folds down quickly for easy storage.
Shape up and slim down with Easy Glider.
Only one network is seen, believed, and quoted in more than 100 countries around the world.
Welcome back to Crossfire. Word just in from Moscow that Iraq has accepted the Soviet peace proposal. That proposal includes what it calls unconditional withdrawal from Kuwait, but it also has terms President Bush might find unacceptable, such as a ceasefire before the withdrawal starts. Is peace at hand? We're talking with Christopher Hitchens, columnist for The Nation and author of several books, and Senator John McCain, Republican of Arizona, member of the Armed Services Committee, and a former POW in Vietnam. Senator McCain, I want to ask you the Brzezinski question, because it was a question he posed here. We were talking about the possibility of what has now been realized, the nightmare scenario, so-called. How many Americans should have to die to achieve goals beyond what Saddam Hussein is offering?
Again, Michael, it depends on what these conditions mean. I think they can be clarified in a very short period of time. And I also think that we ought to be a little bit skeptical when there is an imminent ground operation, which Saddam Hussein knows at this particular moment in time. But I think we have time to take a pause, examine these proposals, see if they are really sincere, see what the Iraqi government says. So far, it's been through the Soviet government, as you know. But clearly, I would accept if they are truly without conditions.
What about this issue of how many weapons he has to leave behind? Are we going to have a war over whether he has to march out without his weapons or whether he can take his weapons with him? Is that worth having a war over?
No, I don't. And I also feel that after sustaining this kind of defeat, Saddam Hussein will not be kept in power by his own people.
All right, Christopher Hitchens. Last Friday, of course, Saddam Hussein said he would accept withdrawal UN Resolution 660, and then we had a lot of conditions to it. Maybe it was the same deal we're talking about in Moscow today. But that was 5 weeks after the war had begun. Now, does this not suggest that Saddam Hussein's will to fight, if you will, and resist, has been broken as a direct consequence of the American air war launched by George Bush? Again, without getting into your Algerian answer, has not the United States, in effect, won this war with air power?
I knew you'd want it to be peace through strength, Mr. Buchanan. Naturally, that would be better than no peace at all. But I return you to the point, and I find myself with Dr. Brzezinski about as often as Senator McCain finds himself with Amnesty International, which he did in the debate, when, by the way, if you recall, the job in hand was toppling Hitler from his throne, something that apparently isn't included in this package. Now, I believe this. I believe that President Bush will do many stupid things in order to avoid looking stupid. He has said this is a fight against Hitlerism. He's put his entire credibility on knocking Saddam Hussein off his perch. He's trying to show what we say goes. America is the only superpower. It will control the resources and governments of the Gulf and the Middle East. He's not gone to all this trouble to make Gorbachev look like an honest broker. So I'm very worried at the very first reactions we're getting from the White House. All of them, we don't like the look of this. Saddam Hussein has not promised to stand on his head. He's not promised to disrobe and
let me follow up on what you're saying.
Like
you're saying that President Bush is going to find a way to reject this and continue to prosecute the war, in which case there will be a major breach between Gorbachev and the president, correct?
Yes, I think that's true.
Do you think that's true?
I don't think so. I think what the president is going to do, as we said, he's going to say, okay, let's give him 24 hours. Tomorrow they say the details are forthcoming. Are they going to be in compliance with the UN mandate or not? And we will be able to make a a clear determination in a very short period of time. And let me say, Michael, again, no, I don't think President Bush is willing to risk American lives unnecessarily.
Let me talk about reparations now. Look, Iraq is smashed. It's $80 billion in debt before it was smashed. If you're going to get reparations, you're talking about getting them from the Iraqi people. Basically, Saddam Hussein doesn't have a big bank account. So are we going to fight over squeezing these people we have defeated when we have said all along our war is not against those
First
people?
of all, Pat, they're sitting on enormous oil wealth, as you know. When any country in the world or any bank in the world is willing to give them lots of money, they've got lots of money sitting in the ground beneath them. And if they hadn't spent $50 billion on armament, they would still have lots of money. Second of all, yeah, I think the Kuwaiti people deserve reparations. They've been brutalized. They've been mistreated, as Mr. Hitchens mentioned.
Here's the big question. How many people die to achieve reparations? As Pat put it the other night, you're talking about blood for money in that case.
I would like to see reparations, but clearly that it cannot be the defining issue.
I think it's essential.
And also peace and stability in the Middle East is also part of that.
How can you have peace and stability when you got Adolf Hitler on his throne in Baghdad?
If Adolf Hitler had been defeated at the Sudetenland, then I don't think he would have lasted very long. Saddam Hussein will not last after he's lost.
John McCain, you got Tehran at the top of the Gulf, you got Iraq there, and you got Hafiz al-Assad. How do you build a new world order with these fellows?
Because what we've done, sent a message to every one of those tyrants that if they do the same thing that Saddam Hussein did, they will get the same result.
So would you have expected 10 years ago that the United States would now be fighting a war to restore Iran to its position as dominant power in the Gulf?
No, nor do I think we're doing so now.
No, you don't. Well then, but as you said, you always take the president's word for everything. Look, we've got to be able to bear the pain of the Iraqi civilian more stoically. I mean, this is an obligation that the president lays upon us. These people in the shelters and elsewhere, all over Baghdad and Basra and southern Iraq, all had to be killed to show that we can do it. All of this was completely unnecessary. The call that you say didn't mention withdrawal, the word was in fact evacuation, was agreed by Iraq before the deadline.
You mean you believe the president is not fighting for the liberation of Kuwait?
This is the war of George Bush's face. This is the war of George Bush's face. If he calls it off now, he's done it all for nothing.
Let me just say,
the Hitler stuff was all for show. All the civilians in Iraq were killed just to make what point? They could have had this evacuation months before the January 15th deadline.
When we come back, we're going to ask both gentlemen if they believe the war will be over by the end of the weekend.
Day after day, night after night, there's an easy way to save on AT&T long distance. And all it takes to get started is one simple phone call. Just call 1-800-874-4300. For the AT&T Reach Out America plan. Reach Out America gives you an additional 25% discount starting at 5 p.m. So you'll get the biggest discount during the best time to call. But that's just the beginning. The AT&T Reach Out America plan also gives you a 10% daytime discount. Great. Plus an hour of weekend and night calls, so you can call all across America for one low price.
Oh, my assistant just brought me a copy of the budget.
To order the AT&T Reach Out America plan, call 1-800-874-4300. You'll get a 25% discount off our already low prices from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. An hour of weekend and night calls, plus our daytime discount. It all adds up to savings 24 hours a day.
Hi, Grandma. Yes, I'm fine, and so is Harry.
And it costs just $8.70 a month. Order the AT&T Reach Out America plan now and see how easy it is to save on AT&T long distance 24 hours a day. To order, call 1-800-874-4300.
Ready?
Need another reason?
And call, Maria.
The plan also includes an international discount at no extra charge.
I'll be there tomorrow.
You can even get an option that lets you save on calls away from home. And it's so easy to order. Just call 1-800-874-4300. And save on quality AT&T long distance, day and night. AT&T, the right choice.
John McCain, what is your feeling or sense? I know we don't have any of the details. Do you think the war is just about over?
My sense for a long time has been that the smartest thing Saddam Hussein could do is say he will withdraw at the appropriate time. That gives us an enormous dilemma. I think there's a possibility that this war could be over soon.
I'd love to be wrong, but they blew up the bridge of Saddam's withdrawal from the first week of this crisis, when King Hussein offered to broker it. They've blown up every other bridge behind Saddam ever since. Their aim is to get Iraq, get Saddam. Otherwise, you just have to believe the plucky little Kuwait option.
Senator, many conservatives are very troubled by the idea that we're making the Soviets heroes. They're peacemakers, we're war makers, by allowing them to mediate this deal. Now, does that bother you at all?
No, it doesn't, Michael, because clearly Gorbachev needs some some help now, even if it's international. But it does bother me, even though you don't think it's a big deal, it does bother me a bit that why didn't Aziz come out and make that statement? I would give it much more credibility than the intermediary. And
well, maybe he's making just a theory. Maybe this is a small payoff to him, to the Soviets, for being peacemakers and saving their country. What's wrong with that?
We'd still know who the brokered. We would still know who brokered the agreement.
Yeah, the Soviets could have put this out there. We could be pumping it up and see Aziz walk back from it.
Remember, there's also a 1914 problem here, in the sense of military scheduling taking over politics. They have now a very short window in which to wrap this up militarily. If they put it off now, they don't get another good chance, because the weather's going to change, Ramadan begins, the Hajj begins. They're going to, I think, denounce this as a play for time.
We only have time left to thank our guests. Thank you, Christopher Hitchens. Thank you, Senator McCain. And Pat and I may be back in a moment.
Imagine what could happen if people worked together to reach for the stars. Imagine what could happen if whole populations came together in peace to win their freedom. Imagine what could happen if a nation with vision and people with commitment made education a top priority.
Make it happen, America. Invest in education.
There's a song for you in Tennessee. Good times and harmony. So won't you come and join us? Come on and play along. In Tennessee, we're playing your song.
Come to Tennessee, we're playing your song.
Call for your free vacation guide and see why Tennessee is a big hit.
If your doctor has recommended Metamucil and you like the results, but you don't like those glasses of thick liquid, change to FiberCon. Get the same fiber action in easy-to-swallow tablets. Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
Do yourself proud. Think you were beautiful. Do it for yourself with Minwax and Wood.
Get beautiful color with Minwax Wood Finish and lasting protection with Minwax Polyurethane.
So do yourself proud with Minwax and Wood.
Sunday, NASCAR's heated rivalry continues. Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt battling each other and NASCAR's best. The Pontiac Excitement 400, live and exclusively on TBS, 1 Eastern Sunday.
Karen McGinnis, CNN weather. Well, one weather system moves through the Middle East, another one moving in just in time for the weekend. But for Friday, throughout much of the Middle East, it'll be a partly cloudy to mostly sunny day. In Riyadh, sunny skies, 74 degrees. But we're looking for those gusty winds to pick up, especially in the southern sections of Iraq, also along the Persian Gulf region of Saudi Arabia. It's going to be even warmer over the next couple of days. Tel Aviv, partly cloudy. It'll be about 72 degrees. Baghdad, though, a little bit cooler with the passage of that weather system, 57 and partly cloudy. And for Kuwait, we don't receive any specific information about this country, but we're anticipating, because the Persian Gulf area will be cloudy, that perhaps the Persian Gulf area of Kuwait will also be cloudy. As we move on and show you the satellite picture, as we take a look at the southeast, boy, it's really been hit the last couple of days with heavy rainfall, especially in through southeastern Louisiana, where a number of rivers and even the bayous have really begun to fill up. Well, there's an area of low pressure in the northern Gulf of Mexico, an upper level low over Texas. The two combined are going to draw this moisture up, and we're going to see another afternoon of rather soggy weather and cloudy skies in the southeast. We picked up some snowfall at Grand Forks, North Dakota, also in Bemidji, Minnesota, and Duluth. And Sault Ste. Marie also saw some snowfall. Well, there's a developing trough here that's going to swing the cloud cover across Southern California, maybe a few rain showers right along the northern Sierra Nevada. And we have to watch carefully the rivers and streams across western Washington state in the next day or two. Well, daytime high temperatures, we did see a number of record high temperatures like in Riverside, California. Temperatures were up into the 80s, a very warm day. Well, for tomorrow afternoon, Los Angeles, some high cloudiness, 72 degrees. That's with that upper level trough moving across the Great Basin. Las Vegas, just about the same, and 70 degrees. Denver, partly cloudy, 59. Des Moines, you're looking at 39 degrees. I think it'll be a partly cloudy day there. Chicago, you're right on the line. It could be mostly cloudy there, a little bit breezy, maybe some variable cloud cover by the afternoon, 37. New York, variable cloud cover there as well, and you're looking at 59 degrees. Miami, 82 coming up for Friday afternoon, 65 in Dallas and Fargo. The high only 18. Wait until this weekend. It's going to be much colder across the upper Mississippi Valley and the Great Lakes. So winter has not left us just yet. Here's a forecast map and a quick look at it. Take a look at the rain showers again all the way from Wilmington through Atlanta down through Shreveport and New Orleans. You can count on that. You also have to watch a number of the rivers there. And there's a cloud cover associated with that trough in between. Looks like a pretty nice day with some snowfall for the Great Lakes. Now these forecasts coming up for Friday.
For a transcript, send $3 to Crossfire Transcripts, Journal Graphics, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007. Or call 212-227-READ.
Well, Pat, this has been expected for months, and at last it's come. They call it the nightmare scenario, or as Richard Pearl says the other night, the bad dream scenario, which was that Saddam Hussein is still on his perch after all this ends. It's only a bad dream now because he's badly crippled. At the same time, though, I do not see how George Bush can reject this out of hand or make a huge fuss out over a few little details.
I don't know how you can call it necessarily a bad dream. He smashed the Iraqi military war machine. He gets him out of Kuwait if this thing works without conditions. As for a ground war, I don't see how the president can launch U.S. Marines and soldiers to drive the Iraqi army out of Kuwait at risk of their lives, hundreds or thousands, when they're ready to get up and walk out. So I think the ground war is really on hold.
Oh, I think there can't be any question about that, although we've both been wrong before as this thing has been progressing. And not just American lies. I mean, if you're concerned at all, as everyone on both sides of this debate claims to be, about the Arab street reaction, surely if we continue to kill thousands of Arabs day by day after an offer like this, it really will embitter an awful lot of people.
Well, and if the president ordered a ground war now, I think you'd have a real estrangement with Mikhail Gorbachev because it would pull the rug right out from under him.
Would that bother you, Pat?
Well, that whole thing would not bother me at all. I mean, I'm not that interested in Mikhail Gorbachev, but if you can stop a ground war, get him out of Kuwait, win this war with no more American casualties, under honorable conditions, that's a good deal.
Well, the only problem is I think it's a good deal, you think it's a good deal, but Christopher Hitchens is right to this extent. Every single time any hint of this has come along, the Bush administration has done everything it possibly can to shoot it down, claim it's disappointed, claim it's unsatisfactory, make it difficult for planes to land, things like that. They don't seem to want it. Now, maybe this one will be the one they can't, an offer they can't refuse.
Thus far, the president's military strategy and his tough diplomatic line appear to have paid off, so I don't think you can fault him just yet. It looks like he may have won this war.
Well, we'll see. From the left, I'm Mike Kinsley. Good night for Crossfire.
From the right, Pat Buchanan. Join us tomorrow night for another edition of Crossfire.
The New Yorker. It's been called the best magazine in the world, probably the best magazine that ever was. See if you agree. Call this number and get 52 weekly issues of the New Yorker for just $25.95. That's $65 off the cover price. Week after week, the quality of the New Yorker speaks for itself.
So call 1-800-257-1257 for 52 weekly issues of the best magazine in the world. Yes, the New Yorker.
Did you know that you can send beautiful flowers like these anytime, anywhere to anyone by calling one phone number? The number is 1-800-FLOWERS because now more than 10,000 of America's finest florists have the same telephone number, 1-800-FLOWERS. All you need is a telephone and a major credit card. Just pick up the phone and call 1-800-FLOWERS 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, toll free. 1-800-FLOWERS. We're the 24-hour worldwide florist.
This is CNN.
President Bush meets late into the night with his top advisors discussing problems with a new Soviet-Iraqi peace plan.
The plan was reached during a 2-hour meeting in Moscow between Mikhail Gorbachev and Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz.
Despite the talk of peace, the guns still sound, and the question remains, will the war escalate? CNN's coverage of the war continues now. I'm Patrick Emery.
And I'm Jonathan Mann. Clearly unacceptable. That reportedly is the conclusion reached by President Bush and his top advisors tonight at the White House. White House officials had earlier said they had serious problems with the Soviet peace proposal, but even so, they didn't reject it outright. The 8-point plan was hammered out by Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev and Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz in the Kremlin.
We see the following approaches being evolved in this process that include the following positions. First, Iraq states about its full and unconditional withdrawal of its forces from Kuwait. Second, the withdrawal of forces begins on the second day after the cessation of hostilities. The withdrawal of forces will take place in a fixed time frame. Fourth, after the withdrawal of 2/3 of all the forces, Iraqi forces from Kuwait, the economic sanctions envisaged by the UN will cease to apply to Iraq. Fifth, after the end of the withdrawal of Iraqi forces from Kuwait, thus the causes would cease to exist, the causes for the corresponding resolutions of the Security Council. So thus those resolutions would cease to be in effect. Sixth, right after the ceasefire, all the POWs will be immediately released. Seventh, the withdrawal of forces would be monitored by the countries not directly involved in the conflict, being so entrusted by the Security Council of the United Nations. And last point, the work on determining the details and specifications continues. The final outcome of this work will be made public today on the 22nd of February till the countries members, present members of the Security Council of the United Nations.
The Security Council had been on emergency standby the past 2 days for just such an occasion.
The CNN senior White House correspondent Charles Bierbauer is standing by late this evening. Unacceptable but not entirely rejected seems to be the position tonight. Charles?
Well, we've not heard a final rejection from the White House. We've been promised a more detailed response later in this morning, but unacceptable is the word that we do hear. The proposal gave the White House some pause, though. For one thing, the linkage between the Kuwaiti problem and the Palestinian problem is missing from this proposal, where it was present in Iraqi proposals earlier. For another, there is provided some sort of withdrawal plan from Kuwait. So the Soviet proposal was not rejected out of hand, and yet it still does not measure up here.
President Bush and his top aides conferred late into the night and, according to a senior administration official, concluded that the Soviet plan is unacceptable. The official says the plan puts conditions on an Iraqi withdrawal from Kuwait, and the United Nations has demanded an unconditional withdrawal. President Bush and Soviet President Gorbachev spent more than half an hour on the phone discussing the Soviet-Iraqi plan, which had been announced publicly 15 minutes earlier in Moscow.
President Bush thanked President Gorbachev for his intensive and useful efforts, but raised serious concerns about several points in the plan. President Bush said the United States will consult with its coalition partners on the proposal. We are in the process of examining the Soviet initiative tonight. The United States and its coalition partners continue to prosecute the war.
While earlier Iraqi and Soviet proposals met little favor at the White House, the terms discussed by Gorbachev and Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz have not been rejected outright. The White House is, however, reluctant to say that Gorbachev is in fact negotiating on behalf of the U.S. and its coalition partners.
There is no negotiation underway with regard to the United States. I remind you again that this is a matter between the Soviet Union and Iraq, that we are commenting on their proposal, and we are not directly involved in that sense.
The terms, as announced in Moscow, call for dropping most of the UN resolutions. That's unlikely to sell in Washington. A ceasefire prior to an Iraqi withdrawal also goes against previous U.S. positions. While the president and his top aides continue to examine the Soviet-Iraqi plan, there is plenty of skepticism elsewhere in Washington.
We do not want our decisive military posture, really on the brink of victory, to be undercut by a political settlement that falls short of what we think is necessary for the peace and stability of the area.
Consider the source, consider whether or not this may be a stall by Saddam Hussein, and then obviously make the judgments in the best interest of our long-term national concerns in that area.
Earlier, the Bush administration turned a cold shoulder on Saddam Hussein's broadcast from Baghdad, which indicated Iraq was ready to fight on to what the Iraqi leader described as victory or martyrdom. But even if Iraq withdraws from Kuwait, a primary U.S. concern is limiting Saddam Hussein's future military capacity.
The U.S. is consulting with its coalition partners, and while President Bush may not want to undermine his partner in Moscow, there is a feeling here that the Soviet proposal is still much too benign and makes it too easy for Saddam Hussein to get out of Kuwait now. Patrick?
Charles, this would appear to put the White House in between a rock and a hard place, because if he were to attempt to launch a ground war now, it would almost have the effect of causing the coalition to fall apart.
Well, not necessarily. And the other point is that the president doesn't really have to launch the ground war now. There is still time to wait in that sense. We have heard from military commanders, such as General Schwarzkopf over in Saudi Arabia, that the U.S. is knocking out in the order of 100 Iraqi tanks a day, that the air war still is in a, quote, target-rich environment, that there are plenty of things to do as far as the air war is concerned. So President Bush can continue pretty much on that path for at least a number of days, if not a week or so. In any event, he doesn't need to move to the ground war immediately, and if he decides that it is unacceptable and his coalition partners support him, then there's very little that stands in the way of a ground war. Patrick?
Charles Bierbauer at the White House tonight, thank you. When we come back, more on the Gulf War, as well as UN reaction to this Soviet-Iraqi peace plan. And we'll be hearing from Mike Shinoy live in Saudi Arabia. That and more coming up.
On those extended business trips, nothing is worse than feeling stranded in less than ideal accommodations. Cramped workspaces, uncomfortable beds, limited dining options, and a noticeable lack of assistance when you need it. Perhaps you should try Red Lion Hotels, located throughout the West, wherever business is done. Hopefully, we'll see you soon. If not, have a pleasant journey.
Coming soon on the Adventure Channel. They're tough, they're brave, they're street smart, and they're all women. They're hips.
Why are you on my case all the time? Cause you can get me killed, Rookie. Look out, he's
like this before. Still going. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. They keep going and going.
Yeah, we're in! We made the Inc. 500!
Our sales went from 100,000 to 6 million in 5 years.
We went public and 11 of us became instant millionaires.
If your blood races when you hear success stories like this, if you think to yourself, that could be me, my company, my success, you should be reading Inc. That's I-N-C, period. Inc.'s the magazine for growing companies. And if you face the challenge of running a growing business, Inc.'s the magazine for you. Each monthly issue of Inc. is loaded with problem-solving how-to information, plus timely, fast-paced business news, facts, features, and fresh ideas.
Times like these, you need all the help you can get.
So call today for 12 months of Inc. at just $18. Your subscription includes 2 big special issues, plus free Inc.'s all-new Guide to Small Business Success. 800-228-1500.
For that money, how can you go wrong?
You'll also get free with your paid order this soft-sided Inc. briefcase. 800-228-1500. Toll free. 800-228-1500.
As we've been reporting, the White House says the Soviet peace plan is, quote, not acceptable. CNN's Francis Harden is standing by live with the latest on how this is all playing at the Pentagon. Francis?
Jonathan, the Pentagon says the air war goes on in spite of the fact that there are talks of peace, and in fact the air war may be intensifying as coalition forces seek to destroy as much as Saddam Hussein's military machine as possible. That would be in advance of any possible ceasefire. The White House objections to the Soviet-Iraqi peace proposal a short time ago certainly delays any ceasefire or withdrawal if and until the plan is altered to meet White House objections. Officials here at the Department of Defense, however, have been saying consistently that they oppose any ceasefire that is not accompanied by an immediate withdrawal, saying otherwise it could be used by Saddam Hussein to resupply and regroup his forces. Now, the ground war remains a potent threat, though there is concern here that the Soviet-Iraqi maneuver could delay its start. There has been rather pointed hinting here all week long that a ground war could start within hours, that the Allied forces were primed, and as one DoD official had it, they were leaning forward. Now, with Saddam Hussein on the ropes, as they say, the Pentagon will not feel comfortable with any diplomatic maneuvers that could avoid a ground war unless it included a rapid withdrawal of Saddam Hussein's forces from Kuwait. I'm Francis Harden, CNN, reporting live from the Pentagon.
Now we go live to Saudi Arabia. CNN's Mike Shinoy standing by there with reaction to all of this from that venue. Mike?
There's been no official reaction here yet. The U.S. Central Command says it will issue no statement, but soldiers in the field did have some strong reactions.
I wouldn't trust him. I just got over here, and when I've seen on the news and everything he's done before, I just wouldn't trust him. Well, I look at it, we can either fight him now or fight him later.
If he were serious, he would pull back his horns for a little while and see how the world accepted what he proposed.
2/3 of his troops pulling out of Kuwait is not what we're looking for. And that there's no reason to stop now when what we're doing is obviously succeeding.
I hope this time he's for real and not just another game, wanting so much to do so little. Hopefully this time he's for real about it and he really means it. He'll get out.
However, there are increasing signs that some of the Arab states allied with the U.S. would now like to see Saddam Hussein removed from power. The clearest ones have come from the growing role of the Arab members of the coalition in the prosecution of the war. In the past few days, the Air Force of the United Arab Emirates has been in action for the first time. Egyptian and Syrian troops have been fighting too. Moreover, earlier this week, the Saudi King Fahd made a very toughly worded speech in which he demanded that Iraq compensate both Kuwait and Saudi Arabia for damage caused by the war. The Soviet proposal clearly falls far short on that point. On the streets here, people seem still to be uniformly hostile to Saddam Hussein. They blame the Iraqi leader and not the allies for the civilian casualties caused by the war. And, of course, the continued launching of Scud missiles, 2 more were fired towards Saudi Arabia on Thursday, hasn't made public opinion here any more sympathetic to Saddam. However, diplomats say there are some segments of Saudi society that might be a bit more sympathetic to the Soviet peace plan, namely businessmen and technocrats, worried about the financial losses Saudi Arabia has suffered because of the war. They fear that a ground war might make the economic situation here even worse. But in general, so far, the reaction can be summed up by an editorial in this morning's edition of the local English-language newspaper, The Arab News here. And it reads, "There can no longer be any question about whether he should be allowed to stay on in power after the war is over. The evil that is Saddam Hussein must be rooted out. He has too much blood on his hand. Kuwaiti blood, Kurdish blood, Iranian blood, Iraqi blood. He and his cronies must be brought to book for their crimes against humanity." Mike Chinoy, CNN, reporting live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Thanks, Mike. The United Nations Security Council is scheduled to meet Friday to discuss the Soviet peace proposal. Several ambassadors were attending a cocktail party at the UN when the Soviets announced that Iraq had accepted the peace plan. 2 of the most important coalition partners, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, seem to differ in their initial reactions to the news. Cuba, meanwhile, says the U.S. should accept the peace proposal.
The acceptance by Iraq to withdraw unconditionally from Kuwait, if this is to be made and made very clear, it will be a very important first step towards a political settlement.
My reaction to the conditioned and conditional withdrawal, too many conditions.
If the war continues, it won't be any pretense of a UN war. It will be simply a US war, a Bush war.
The PLO representative says he's not disappointed that the plan didn't mention a link to a Mideast peace conference. He says the plan brings the Gulf closer to peace and later will help bring peace to the Middle East as a whole.
In other news from the Gulf region, a U.S. Army helicopter crashed in bad weather in Saudi Arabia, killing 7 soldiers. It was the worst non-combat air accident since the war began. U.S. military leaders said the helicopter was on a medical evacuation mission when it went down. They said 4 crew members and 3 passengers were killed, but they didn't say whether anyone survived. Army officers say that a helicopter battalion commander has been relieved of his post. 1st Infantry Division officers say that Lieutenant Colonel went against division rules that prohibit commanding officers from personally engaging enemy forces. A U.S. division task force inside Iraq was attacked by an Iraqi armored column. The colonel and his Apache crew were called in as backup and then mistakenly fired on 2 U.S. armored vehicles. 2 U.S. soldiers were killed in that. And in an interview last month, the colonel spoke about the heat of battle, saying, "I have a high confidence we won't shoot coalition forces." And our Gulf War coverage continues right after this.
Thinking of selling your home?
You got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. Latch on to the affirmative.
Better Homes and Gardens' exclusive home merchandising system will show you how to make your home more attractive to buyers.
Accentuate the positive.
Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. Nobody knows homes better.
Don't mess with Mr. In Between.
There's a song for you in Tennessee.
Good times and harmony.
So won't you come and join us? Come on and play along.
In Tennessee, we're playing your song. Come to Tennessee, we're playing your song.
Call for your free vacation guide and see why Tennessee is a big hit.
Recognize that skyline? There's only one place in the world looks like that. Manhattan. Where the air's clean, the living's easy, and the food's great. Every time I'm in Manhattan, I order my personal favorite, the New York Strip. Delicious. Manhattan's known for its famous restaurants, so be sure to try all 3. Beef, real food, Manhattan, Montana.
Call 1-800-257-1257 and get your free video with 25 issues of the Sporting News for 3 payments of just $9.96. Save 52%. Call now, 1-800-257-1257.
World economics, an ever-changing machine affecting every minute of your life. CNN gives you a look at this machine each day in a way you can understand. Business news to keep you in time with change on CNN.
Well, you have opinions about the war and how we are covering it, and we love to hear about all of it. In fact, we have some letters for you tonight. Here's our first one. Jordan chose a real loser. Let's not forget about those TV pictures showing their trucks loading and hauling Kuwaiti property to Iraq, and the crates of ammunition with Jordanian markings on the battlefield. And let us not forget the Jordanian oil trucks illegally taking refined fuel to Iraq. That letter comes to us from the Klausman family in California.
And this: I am a Free Will Baptist minister, and I too am not glad of the fact that we find ourselves in the midst of a conflict which, if carried much further, will undoubtedly result in a number of casualties. But I believe the stand we've taken is the right one. There are issues in life that demand a response. I suppose many of your viewers, from the letters they write, must be of the sort who'll watch a mugging on a street corner and not do anything because they don't want to get involved. But let this mugger attack them, and they're the first ones to cry wolf, and that from Cairo, Georgia.
And if you would like to write to CNN concerning the war in the Gulf, here's the address, Box 740166, Atlanta, Georgia, 303-740166.
Much has happened in the past day in the Gulf War, from Iraq accepting the Soviet peace proposal to U.S. President Bush saying the conditions attached to it are unacceptable. Let's take a look at some of the sights and sounds from day 36 of the war.
Being entrusted by the President of Iraq and the Revolutionary Command, Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz presented the response to the plan put forward by Mikhail Gorbachev. The response is positive.
President Bush did state the concerns that he felt the coalition would have on this matter, both in terms of points that are in the plan that we have problems with, as well as issues that are not included. So there are a number of issues to resolve.
If the war continues, it won't be anymore any pretense of a UN war. It will be simply a US war, a Bush war.
The acceptance by Iraq to withdraw unconditionally from Kuwait, if this is to be made and made very clear, it will be a very important first step towards a political settlement.
My reaction to the conditioned and conditional withdrawal, too many conditions, don't you see it?
My personal reaction is that it is something we will, it is certainly something new. It is a new development. We will be looking into it very carefully. There are elements which at first view seem to be encouraging, but we cannot pass a judgment until a more careful study and until a consultation with our allies.
My reaction is that it's not a serious offer, that 2/3 of his troops pulling out of Kuwait is not what we're looking for, and that there's no reason to stop now when what we're doing is obviously succeeding.
Just wouldn't trust him, you know. Well, I look at it, we can either fight him now or fight him later, so might as well do it now. We've got forces here.
I don't think he's totally serious right now. I don't think he realistically thinks we will accept it.
Do you think the coalition should accept it?
Not in my opinion, no.
Are you optimistic there's going to be peace soon?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Only because Saddam Hussein is a man who cannot be trusted, and I feel that if the American public goes under the assumption that they're going to have peace soon and the troops are coming home, that they're only going to let themselves in for a rude awakening.
No time for talk. Bush needs to do some action and get it over with and bring our boys back home.
It can end in the next couple of days, because if it does, we'll be right back over there the next year or 2 years, or our children will be back over there. And there's no way. I think Hussein needs to be taken out, and taken out completely. His entire family and all of his ruling party needs to go.
International correspondents and Iraqi officials in Baghdad
tried to analyze every phrase of President Saddam Hussein's radio address, coming as it did as the clock ticks down towards a possible ground war in Kuwait and southern Iraq.
There's no path other than this path which we have opted for. The only other path is that of humiliation and darkness. The Iraqis have chosen this path over a long time. We will protect it with lives, properties, and souls.
The United States and its coalition partners continue to prosecute the war.
It can shoot real far to where not too many of their weapon systems can hit us. We're designed to hit deep targets to help prepare the battlefield for the maneuver to come in.
They got troop, I can't even read it, troop something.
It's all been pretty positive, at least if you're on the Allied side. And I would say that it's gone pretty well operationally.
I don't know if they expect what's coming, but I know it's a lot of firepower. There ain't no reaction time to it. You just see it, and it's there, and everything's gone after that.
It's good to know that we're destroying equipment that's used to wage war and might be used in the future to wage other wars. It's good. It's a good feeling to know you're destroying tanks and artillery, but you know, nobody, an Iraqi or anybody, nobody really enjoys killing other human beings. But you know, you have to do some of that to win. So that's what we're doing.
The ground war is certainly underway. The artillery of all the allies is engaging the Iraqis on the ground.
Most of you know, of course, we were going to move out in about 48 hours. Okay, the word is we're moving out right now. So as soon as you finish right here, you fall back to your work areas, you get with your platoon commanders, company commanders, section leaders, and so on. The word is going out right now to the battalions, to headquarters here, and we're moving out as quickly as we can. We will be in the assembly area on the border sometime tonight or early in the morning. This thing has advanced on us. We're going in a little earlier than we anticipated, but we're moving today to the border, and we'll take it from there day by day.
Hey! Go back to the fly area.
33, that's where we're dropping us off. Where the hell we're going there, I don't know.
When we come back, a report on how difficult an Iraqi withdrawal would be if Iraq agrees to get out of Kuwait.
Are you still living with this nightmare? Over 1 million motorists have said never again. They've switched to Triple Edge, and the difference is amazing.
This is the first set of wipers that really work for my car. Triple Edge has made my driving easier and safer.
Triple Edge is the world's first high-tech windshield wiper. It clears, it cleans, it wipes dry, all in a single pass. But that's not all. Triple Edge wipers are not made of rubber. They won't tear, dry rot, or freeze to your windshield. Triple Edge is made from DuPont Nordell, the same material used in 50,000-mile radial tires. It's so strong, we guarantee these wipers for as long as you own your car. If they ever fail, we'll replace them free.
Triple Edge wipers are absolutely great. It's been raining for 2 weeks straight, and I almost enjoy driving in it.
Triple Edge gives you visibility through the heaviest downpour. It whisks away snow and ice. Even mud is no match for Triple Edge. State troopers, ambulances, and taxi cabs are now using these incredible wipers. Shouldn't you?
The day after I got my Triple Edge wipers, we had a big snowstorm with blowing sleet and wind. Everybody had trouble seeing except me. My visibility was beautiful.
Join the satisfied million who have switched to Triple Edge. No noise, no streaking, no smearing, no tearing. They're custom fit to install in seconds on your car, van, or truck. Triple Edge wipers are only $19.95 a pair, guaranteed for as long as you own your car. Order yours now. They're the last windshield wipers you'll ever buy.
Call toll-free 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257. Or send $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling to Triple Edge Wipers, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Please include your car or car's make, model, and year for correct sizing. Use your credit card and call now 1-800-257-1257.
This is CNN.
The Bush administration reportedly has concluded that conditions attached to the Soviet-Iraqi peace plan are unacceptable. That word from a senior administration official following a late-night meeting at the White House. The White House will make an official statement on the plan sometime after daybreak. CNN's Mark Leff with more.
It's been a night of mixed signals on how or whether to end the fighting. From Moscow, word of Iraq's answer to the Soviet peace proposal.
The response is positive.
But at the same time, Iraq launched ground-to-ground missiles toward Saudi Arabia and its neighbors for the second time in 10 hours. And from Washington, an official statement of serious concern about several points in the plan.
President Bush said